Hello? I'll first start with some context for my presentation. As you can tell, I changed it, so I apologize. It's not the same thing written in the brochure, but I hope you enjoy it anyways. Yeah, further context. So just an intro of me. I was one of the co-founders of API3, and then prior to that, I worked at Gauntlet Networks. And I currently don't work for any Oracle projects, so I thought this was a fun opportunity to just give my kind of opinion as someone that's pretty neutral, but also very, very familiar with the Oracle space. So this is just going to be a smattering of my opinions on like 5 different Oracle projects, so a smattering of hot takes. And the way I selected the Oracle projects that I'm going to talk about. Is there a timer here anywhere, or should I do it myself? Oh, okay. So I roughly selected the top 5 Oracle projects by market cap, but it wasn't the best way to do it, just because like number 2 or number 3 is something called Chainlink on the Tron network, which I won't be talking about. So this is roughly the top 5 by market cap with some curation by me. And also, this kind of assumes you're somewhat already familiar with the Oracle space, because I don't have time to like deep dive into every single technical solution. Okay, so things I like and things I don't like about different Oracle projects. Okay, starting with Chainlink. And then I included all of their taglines, because I find it kind of interesting, because most of these technologies are like the same, but they all have different taglines. So blockchain oracles for hybrid smart contracts. So I'm going to start with good things, and then I'm going to go into bad things, but don't take it personally if I'm talking about one of your projects, because this is more about like trade-offs. I just did like a clickbaity thing where I'm talking about good and bad. So I guess the obvious, so I'm starting with Chainlink because it's the biggest player in the space. And the obvious good part about it is that it has a reputation. We talk a lot about reputation in the space, usually in some quantifiable way, but zooming out, Chainlink does have a reputation in terms of providing like consistently good data. This is taken from DeFi Pulse, so this is the top DeFi projects by TVL, Total Value Locked. So among the top 10 projects, half of them use Chainlink. And among the top 20, last I checked, 15, so 75% of them use Chainlink. So Chainlink makes a big part of the DeFi ecosystem, whether you like them or not. So one thing I really like about Chainlink is they're very unique in terms of how much resources they put into cryptography research. I don't know any other Oracle project that invests so much in cryptography. I don't think any other Oracle project does. So like one of the co-authors of the original Chainlink white paper was Ari Jules, who's like a very well-known and respected cryptographer. And almost half of the team on Chainlink Labs, they're like cryptographers. Do I have a pointer? No? Oh, okay. Some of their research is actually in use. So Chainlink OCR, their off-chain, the way they do off-chain data feeds is actually based on a somewhat original cryptographic protocol. And then they also have a bunch of research that hasn't been implemented yet. So I mention this because I don't know, there must be a reason why Chainlink is investing so much into cryptography, and I don't think I or a lot of people currently realize like how much this is going to play a part in the future. So I feel like they kind of know something we don't know because of how much they're investing into cryptographic research. Oh, and then also memes. So for people that don't work in crypto here, I think you'd be really surprised to know that memes, you can get to $1 billion market cap with memes alone. So Chainlink, for whatever reason, during like the bear market, ended up having like a really strong community with really strong memes, and I think it carried the project significantly. I mean, like, obviously they have talented researchers, but the memes played a big part. Okay, getting into the bad parts. So Chainlink doesn't currently have any kind of cryptoeconomic security. So they roughly outline in their original white paper how they're going to implement some game theoretic crypto economic security via staking, but they still haven't implemented this, I think like 4 years later. So it's a trusted system. It's currently a trusted system that they argue they're kind of moving towards something that's more permissionless using crypto economic security. And I actually saw on Twitter that apparently they either released or announced a releasement of staking, but I haven't read that yet. But currently their data feeds don't have crypto economic security. This is more my opinion. This has been like a marketing thing that Chainlink has done for like the last year, where they talk about creating definitive truth on the blockchain. So this is, I think, a quote from Sergey. Blockchains and smart contracts create definitive truth about asset ownership and transfer, and how Chainlink is actively extending this property of definitive truth to real-world data events and existing off-chain. I really don't like this. I think it's really weird to claim that you're creating definitive truth, especially like with their connections with the World Economic Forum. It's just really weird and kind of Orwellian, but this is obviously my opinion. So I don't really like this marketing angle, this definitive truth marketing angle, personally. And then there's the question of so currently, and I think they sort of admit to this, like the data feeds are centralized, like it's a permissioned, centralized network of nodes that provide data. And their argument is that they're kind of like slowly moving towards a decentralized system. I'm not familiar with too many good examples of systems that started centralized and then evolved into being sufficiently decentralized, but that doesn't necessarily mean it won't happen. So I used to be really skeptical of Chainlink for this reason, but just because we haven't seen a system go from being very centralized to decentralized doesn't mean it won't happen. So, and that's all for Chainlink. Like I said, this kind of assumes you're already familiar with these projects, so you're kind of familiar with these, the context of these opinions. Okay, UMA, an optimistic oracle built for Web3. Okay, so one thing I really like UMA that makes them very different from a lot of other Oracle projects is they formalize security at a very high level, and they have what they say is an economic guarantee around the cost of corrupting the Oracle. So I can't get into too many details, but basically they ensure that if you're using, or they claim to ensure that if you're using the system, the cost of corrupting the Oracle is always more expensive than the cost of profiting off the Oracle. So basically that there's always a guarantee that it's not profitable to corrupt the Oracle. And they formalize this by COC, cost of corruption, is greater than profit from corruption. And they're very unique in the way that they formalize security, and I think it's simple and it makes sense. They also have a dispute resolution mechanism. I actually included this because I thought they were the first ones to do dispute resolution, but I'm actually not sure. Was it Tellor? Does anyone know who the first Oracle project that had dispute resolution? Oh yeah? That had dispute resolution? Oh, okay, okay. So I could probably make a whole presentation on this, but it seems like the Oracle space is moving towards everyone having like a dispute resolution module. Like even Chainlink 1.0 never mentioned dispute resolution, but Chainlink 2.0 also sort of outlined this dispute resolution mechanism. API 3, a project that I worked on, the primary security mechanism is dispute resolution. And it makes sense. I can't get into all the reasons for this, but it seems like all Oracle projects are sort of moving in the direction of this being a necessary module for an Oracle, having dispute resolution. Tokenomics, yeah, at a high level, I think their tokenomics makes sense. The token is used for price requests, disputes made to their verification mechanism, voting on UMA improvement proposals. And theoretically, the token price should be proportional to the total value secured of the network, which it's always, I mean, again, this is theoretically, it should do this, and it's always good that your token price is actually correlated to the security of the network. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a token anyways. Okay, so the things that I don't like, or the things that are arguably bad, but instead of bad, just think of these as like trade-offs. Anyone that integrates UMA must create this PFC function, profit from corruption. So if you integrate with UMA, you have to tell them how much someone that hacks your system can profit. So basically, it's a little bit more cumbersome for whoever integrates with UMA. Because they have to create this function. And also, like, sometimes this is easy to figure out. It really depends on the application. Like, sometimes it's obvious, and sometimes it's not so trivial to figure out how much someone can profit at any given time if they hack your Oracle. And then it's also slow, although, so there's a 24-hour dispute period, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to wait 48 hours until you get your data point. So this means that UMA cannot be used for something like a stable coin that needs like price data as frequently as possible. So to exemplify my point, this is the kind of project. This is one project that actually uses UMA. So will natural gas close above $8 on May 27th, 2022? Will ETH be above 2,000 on May 27? Like these are prediction markets, and these are situations when you can wait. You can wait 2 days to have this resolved and have things be paid out. So, and another kind of criticism of UMA. So they say so if it ever happens that smart contracts that integrate into their system, the cost of corrupting them is actually greater than the profit from corruption is actually greater than the cost of corruption. They have to somehow implement some like token buyback strategy to increase the value of their token. For anyone that's kind of been following a lot of the debates on algorithmic stablecoins, especially recently, like there's a lot of skepticism about like whether or not you can actually control a token price by buybacks and whatnot. This isn't my area of expertise, but I just am familiar with the debates around the issue. Okay, Tellor, a decentralized Oracle protocol. What I like about it, this is the simplicity. So I can't really get into the details of Tellor. I don't have time, but I do, as someone that like spent a little bit of time like reading their white paper and also reading like documentation that spans back like 2 years, I have to agree. This is a quote I think I took from a YouTube interview. When we made Tellor, we valued simplicity. A lot less can go wrong if you keep something simple and strong. We can later build complexity into the system as we've learned from it being live for a period of time. And I think this is generally a good approach, and whatever my opinion matters to you, as someone that's looked through their documentation, I have to agree that this is kind of the approach that they've taken to their system. They have a strong focus on decentralization. I know that everyone says they do, but I have to say that Tellor kind of walks the walk. They didn't have an ICO or pre-mine. They actually have permissionless nodes, like anyone can join the system. Well, they've actually moved away from decentralized governance, but I think they have a good reason to. And then also, like, Tellor is one of the few projects that I've seen talk about, or at least one of the earlier projects I've seen talk about Oracle extractable value. And this video, again, I can't get into the details, but it explains why decentralization matters in the context of Oracle extractable value. So I'm pretty convinced that they actually do care about decentralization. Also, as you saw Rick's, I don't know who saw Rick's presentation yesterday, but Liquidity integrated both Chainlink and Tellor and created kind of like a unique dual Oracle system. And I normally wouldn't use this kind of argument, like I don't know what this is, like proof by authority or whatnot, but Liquidity is a very impressive DeFi protocol. They have the highest score on DeFi safety, and they've fared extremely well when a lot of other stablecoins haven't. And I also was like briefly worked with them when they were building their system, and I personally haven't seen a DeFi project think so much about oracles and research them so much. So I personally think that Liquidity's endorsement of Tellor says a lot about Tellor as an oracle. Again, my opinion. And this is an issue with like anything that's optimistic. I've seen this argument elsewhere. So this isn't my argument, I just can't remember where I saw it. It's sort of like almost like paradoxical. Like if reporters are reporting correctly, there's a decreased demand for disputers. So reporters are then incentivized to report incorrectly, and then there's like an increased demand for disputers. It seems a little bit paradoxical, the whole concept of incentivizing people to be disputers. Like this isn't unique to Tellor. This is unique to kind of any optimistic system that requires people potentially to dispute incorrect data. And then there's a question of like how fast is it, just because you have to wait a period of time before you're sufficiently satisfied that no one has disputed the data. However, Tellor is very explicit about this. Blockchains are slow, expensive, and built for things you absolutely don't want people to shut down. If a project claims to not have all of those features, it probably is lying or isn't a good fit for the world we're trying to build. So I say this because, yes, you could argue that Tellor might be slow if you're using it the way it should be used. However, they're very explicit about this. So, okay, Nest. Truly decentralized Oracle, that's their tagline. So this, I'll try to explain this well, but I find their solution extremely neat because, so what they do is, if you want to report a price, so Nest is only used for price data. So if you want to report a price to Nest, you're a miner, let's say you quote 1 ETH to 100 USD, you have to actually put money on the line. So you have to put that same ratio of money on the line, and then if you reported an incorrect price, there's an opportunity for an arbitrager to take advantage of that and profit. So I find this really interesting because this gets a little philosophical, but it's almost like they're a true price source because they're not relaying this information from an exchange and they're not relaying this information from somewhere else. It's almost like you could almost argue one of the definitions of price or one of the implications of price is no arbitrage opportunity when there's a correct price reported. So it's almost like, again, they're not relaying information, they're almost like putting financial incentives for people to create true information, if that makes sense. It gets a little philosophical, but I just think, I think this project is really neat, or like the idea is really interesting. And then the bad part is, yeah, it's only price data, but that's how they've constructed their system. They're very specialized for price data. And I tried to do a little bit of research to see who actually uses Nest, and I know at least like one project does. I'm not sure why more people don't use them, and I'd actually like to know why Rick didn't go with Nest. I guess I'll ask him afterwards, because from a high-level overview, I thought it seemed like a neat solution, but it doesn't seem to be as widely used as other solutions. Okay, and finally, I thought this was going to take me longer, but yeah, the final project I'll talk about is Band, and their tagline is cross-chain data Oracle. So it seems like they're trying to, I mean, judging from their marketing, they're trying to differentiate themselves by being used across the most chains. So good, they are in use. I want to say they're the second most used Oracle, but like, it's actually really hard to find this information. I actually even made a tweet before I started making this presentation asking like if there's any reference source to find out which DeFi projects use which oracles, which seems like such, given that oracles are pretty much agreed upon the weakest link in DeFi, you'd think there'd be some database where you know who uses what oracle, but it's really hard to find this information. And you'll find like partnership posts without like any actual like technical integration. So I think Band is the second most used oracle, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm familiar with at least one Oracle exploit with Band, so it's not like they had a clean history, but they seem to be working well for the most part. Like I said, I think I've only heard of one exploit with Band. What I don't like about Band, like, so this is from their documentation, their design priorities, according to them, are speed and scalability, cross-chain compatibility, and data flexibility. So this probably goes back to them, their tagline being a cross-chain oracle and focusing on like flexibility and wide range of use. However, I think if you're building an oracle, your primary design priority should be security, like given that, like I said, oracles are the weakest link. And what was said before my presentation as well, like oracles are the weakest link. So if you're making an oracle, your design priority should be security. And then also another thing I don't really like about their solution is they have a separate blockchain called band chain. And this is more my opinion. I could understand someone arguing the opposite, but I don't like it because it's hard to reason about security, because security pretty much reduces to how secure is this side chain. Like how many validators are in the side chain, what is the consensus mechanism, et cetera, et cetera. So to actually reason about how secure band is, you have to apply some distributed computing knowledge to evaluate how secure their side chain is. Which, again, some people might argue that's fine, but I feel like it makes it harder to reason about the actual oracle itself, because you have to evaluate the security of their side chain. And then last time I checked, they have 92 nodes. And then it's kind of a matter of opinion whether you think that's secure enough to secure a blockchain that provides data to high-value applications. Thanks. Actually, that was exactly 20 minutes almost. Okay.